soul. So we go back with to the previous slide. Sorry, this is a little bit, I changed the order. So from the Quran, we know that in Surah Ash-Shams, the verse number 7 to 10, actually, so this is the basic theory actually about the human soul. It says that Allah created the soul, the creation of the soul, and inspire us with the fujur and taqwa, the potential to transgress and also to be prudent. Taqwa is to be careful. And then there are two options in our life, whether either we choose to purify ourselves, to grow, tazkiyah, mean purify and grow, and that is the true path, the truth, that is the true way, the correct way. Or we can choose the wrong way, tadziyah, meaning it's not what do you call it? You don't grow yourself. You will suffer if you choose the other way. So this simple surah actually have a very deep meaning, and we will discuss this, how this foundation of the theory about human soul actually cover the potential, the capacity, and then the choices in life, and then the healthy choice, the wrong choice, the consequences, and also the cycle of repentance. So this basic theory about our soul will help human being to understand their life, and will keep them healthy, will help them to prevent themselves from depression, from guilt, and some other psychological problem. Why? Because there's a cycle of repentance. This is very important. So human being has the potential to make mistake, but it is okay as long as you repent. There's always an opportunity open for you to go back to undo your wrongdoing. This is the main theory about the soul that we will discuss later on the advanced program. So by understanding this, and it happens to me, by reading the Alchemy of Happiness by Imam Al-Ghazali, suddenly my anxiety disappeared, my worry disappeared, because I understand that this is life. This is the life that I have to go through, and the purpose of life is not in this world. So this is very important. This is a proof that by understanding the situation, understanding the essence of ourself and our life actually heals psychologically. Okay, so we will bring back to this theory, and now it's time for discussion and question and answer. Okay, I give back to Astari to lead this question and answer session.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan katsira, Dr. Bagus Riono. Before we start the Q&A session, please allow me to summarize a little bit from what we've covered today. The first thing is we have covered about understanding the urgency of learning Islamic psychology, which I summarized as it is highly urgent indeed to relearn about Islamic psychology, because essentially it is relearning about what psychology stands for, and it stands for science, and how we also discussed how Muslim psychologists are increasingly in the lizard's hole. This is also because how the theory of self is reduced more and more, the theory of who we are is what they say they develop is actually reduced, and what was once purely scientific is now becoming increasingly politicized. And when Imam al-Ghazali defined the purpose of life is to return to Allah, along with the concept of self, which contains our visible self, our true self, and Allah. Whereas the hype philosophers like Yuval Noah Harari, what he is trying to define is how humans are no more than biochemical algorithms, which I find is actually the current. I think a lot of young students or young people are actually following this type of thinking, which makes it more urgent to relearn about this Islamic psychology. I think actually we've been greeted by a lot of questions already, so I think I will read out the first question, which is already received in the chat box by Sister Lina Melinda. She said, it's interesting to listen your opening explanation about how human is perceived by scientists today. It felt that we now are stepping back to BC era. However, in my humble opinion, I believe this thought is forced by visible but untouchable power in the world. As you said, we are now following to a lizard's hole. And my big concern is how can we, as Muslims, promote this truth concept of Islamic psychology to ordinary people properly? So that's the first question. Would you like me to read all of the questions, or?
No, I think I will answer one by one because I will forget if you read it all.
Yes,
okay. So the question is how? Okay. Well, actually, if we unlearn psychology, it's easier to tell other people, because actually the Islamic psychology is a natural psychology. It's in our heart, especially for Muslim, but also for those other religion also. Because I found some psychologists who has faith in God, they don't believe in this new development in psychology. They say that we have heart, we have something inside, so Islamic psychology is more natural, it's more scientific, and it's more intuitive. So you don't have to give a big effort how to explain the truth. You just need to unlearn the new trend. You just don't teach the new trend to the lay person. Just teach them about the truth about yourself. Okay, so because if you wanna counter the argument, and you don't have any enough what do you call it, body of literature that can support you. You need to work very hard to collect this literature that counter those who already established in the scientific community right now. Okay, so use your inner intuition, your conscience. That is the true thing. Those that is in the literature actually. The common people cannot access those literature, so you don't teach them to them. Don't teach these ideas to common people. I think that's the practical tips on how to teach Islamic psychology. Okay, I think that's the answer for now. Of course, we will discuss this further in the advanced course, because we will have some theories, some based on the Quranic verses, so we can teach more. But that is the quick fix, the quick answer that I can give to you. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Bagus. So the keyword is to unlearn, or maybe to decolonize our thinking from and step away a bit from the Western psychologist thought. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yes, please.
Okay, the next question is from Nuruddin Akbar. Professor Bagus, can you explain how far the academic pressure at universities in Indonesia is for academics who try to include divine-based scientific explanations in the study of psychology? It's interesting when the professor states that the mission of Islamic psychology is to return science to its place, to replace the politics that dominate the contemporary psychological tradition. My question is, what about the current canon of contemporary psychology? Is everything based on Western politics? Can Muhammad Qutb's solution, for example, be accepted by calling for the removal of all Western psychological canons and replacing them with Muslim works like Al-Ghazali that talk about the soul? What do you think, Dr. Bagus?
Okay, so there are two things. Okay, we need to develop arguments based on logic and reason and science. You know, we cannot just confront the mainstream with politics. You know, with opinions. Opinion is not enough. We have to really discipline ourselves in science, in reasonable arguments, so that we can counter argument, you know, the mainstream psychology. And but actually it doesn't have to be, you know, starting from zero, because as I already indicated, that there's a lot of psychologists who is not in the mainstream. Some psychologists, some scientists actually understand and believe in this intelligent design. We just need to work together with those scientists has you know, still hold on science truthfully, not part of the politics of the hegemony of the scientific politics, scientific community. And we can work together to create our own community, our own society, scientific society that based on the truth, not based on some vested interest, not based on this, you know, materialistic philosophy and atheistic thinking. We have a lot of friends actually, but they are not in the spotlight. So we can still learn from the psychology, but just remove those what do you call it, wrong philosophy, wrong ideas. But that, of course, not all of the science today is politics. Part of it is science, you know, a true science. But when they conclude it, when they promote it, it is you know, contaminated with some political issue. But the experiment, yeah, the findings, we can still use that, but we have to reconstruct it. We have to re-narrate it. You know, we have to make our own narration about these findings. Okay, so it's not the total, you know, by removal of the psychology, but we have to integrate it in a way that we can use what is scientific, what is still scientific in this discipline. But what we have to radically move is our worldview. You know, so we have to really switch to the Islamic worldview, or the true worldview about our life. But then we can use their study, their findings with this new worldview. Like the intelligent design is okay, you know, the concept about soul, about consciousness, I think it's okay. Okay, so we have to integrate this knowledge. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the keyword would be integrate, but also narrating it with our own Islamic worldview.
Yeah, purify the worldview and then integrate the resolve the findings with a new worldview. Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bagus. I hope that answers your question, Nuruddin Akbar. Moving on to the next questions. From Sister Ainul Mardia. So, how does Islamic psychology answer the basic question of mainstream psychology, which is based on materialism perspective and positivistic point of view? For example, how do you measure 3 stages of self, like amara, lawama, and mutmainah? That's the first question. The second question is, how does Islamic psychology deal with individual understanding when it is against Al-Quran and Sunnah? For example, the terms of spirituality. So there is a quote by Koenig, to surrender of the person's will to the will of the transcendent as understood by the individual and their religious community. The word individual used in the above definition could be problematic if we apply in Islamic community. For example, if one thinks by going to black magic or spiritual healer is a part of spirituality, how does Islamic psychology see this kind of definition and problem?
Okay. First of all, we have to start from the Quran about amarah, lawamah, mutmainah. Actually, that is not the core explanation about our nafs. So that's just some aspect of our nafs that is happening to us, but that's not the core issue. So we have to learn from the Quran with the certain method that we will discuss tomorrow, that we don't just pick up words and then we put it into a theory. We have to understand the system, the system of the knowledge, system of the purpose of these messages, So that's why we start with Surah Al-Asams, that because that is the core, and Mutmainah, Lawamah, and Amarah is actually Imam Al-Ghazali already explained about that, so we can use Imam Al-Ghazali's theory about that, So, but the important point is we have to start from the understanding the Quran with the certain method that will help us to understand the message and the purpose of these verses. Okay, and the second one about spirituality, that's the problem. In Islam, in the Quran, we don't use the word spirituality. We use the word ghaib. Ghaib means something that we cannot see, but it's there. And in the Quran and in Islam, we also have the concept of I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but in Indonesia we call it tahayul, hayal, so something that is only in our imagination. It's not spirituality. It's just illusion, hallucination. We differentiate that, the ghaib and the hallucination, and the hayalan, tahayul, it's different. So in Islamic psychology, we don't mix this belief in God, belief in the angels with tahayul. We distinctly differentiate that. And we know the term Tawghut. Tawghut is part of this tahayul. So if you don't worship Allah, then you are worshiping Tawghut. Tawghut means something beside Allah that you worship, that you believe in. So that's a wrong path, a wrong understanding, a mistake. Okay, so spiritual, we have to understand the concept of spiritually through the eyes of the Quran, through the explanation from the Quranic verses. Don't use the term with the definition that there is currently, there in the literature, because they have this idea like spirituality without religion, spirituality with shamanism and things like that. We have to get away from that. Don't use those kind of concepts. We have to put it in a proper place. We believe that there is a Satan, devil. Devil is there. It's always trying to make us astray, to fool us, to lie to us. So we have to be aware of that. That's part of this concept of believing in the Goib, in something that we cannot see, but it's there. But on the other hand, we also believe that there's angels, malaika, who protect us. So we just need to choose whether to follow the guidance from God through malaikat, or we follow evil, iblis, Satan, that will make us lost in our way. So that's the concept of spirituality, if you may say it, in Islam. But it's not about spirit. It's about ghaib, something that we cannot see, but it's there. Okay, I think that's the answer. So go to the next question, maybe.
Thank you, Dr. Bagus. The next question is from Amir from Unida Gondor. So to bring up Islamic psychology to the scientific community, I think we have to understand the modern Western psychology well to be able to show what their weaknesses are. In your opinion, Dr. Bagus, how do you approach that with that goal in mind?
That's true. I agree with that. So, like again, we follow the example of Imam al-Ghazali. Imam al-Ghazali really study the philosophy, very deeply before he criticized them. But when he studied them, he keep his skeptic attitude or critical thinking, not studying not study and then follow the ideas, but study them with a critical thinking. So we need to study them. In the advanced class, we will discuss what we can learn from Freud, what we can learn from Maslow, what we can learn from Skinner, and then we reconstruct them. We deconstruct their ideas, and we try to clean up the idea from this wrong assumption, wrong philosophy, and then we reconstruct it to build a new body of knowledge of that is Islamic, from Islamic worldview. So we need to learn psychology first before we criticize them. Okay, that's I agree with that. That's right. what Prof. Malik Badri did also. He really studied psychology, master psychology, and then he found that there is something wrong in psychology. Okay.
Okay. Maybe moving on to the next response. I think this is more of a comment, actually, from Sister Fatihah Shamsuddin. The way I usually explain why learning Islamic psychology is important is that Western psychology is incomplete, where it covers only the mental, emotional, and physical aspect of humans. However, Islamic psychology is so much more holistic, as it also covers the ruh, or the spirit, the soul, which is eternal. And this way it makes it less contentious. What do you think, Dr. Bagus?
Well, I agree with that, but not only incomplete, but also mistaken. Yeah, there are wrong assumptions also. So we have to clean psychology from those wrong assumptions, wrong philosophy, and also it is incomplete. So we need to complete it, integrate it, and make it more comprehensive. I agree with that, but we have to also be careful, but that there is something that we are not supposed to what do you call it, to adopt from the current psychology. It's not just incomplete, but also there is something wrong, some part of it that is wrong, especially in the philosophical ground. Okay.
Yes, and also unreasonable, I think.
Yeah, some of the explanation is unreasonable. They just serve their own interest. It's not objective, actually.
Right, and Islamic psychology responds that without a vested interest, but returns it to science as a method of inquiry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Right.
So,
Thank you. The next question is from Dr. Irianti Usman. So she mentioned when we decolonized our thinking or unlearn what we have been trained with, does it mean that we will be left empty in terms of knowledge in what the mainstream people call as psychology? I believe many young or senior psychologists are reluctant to do this in fear of losing self confidence that they have learned something and mastered something. Um, and in addition to that, she also said that I'm asking this because it's taken me 2 years to convince fellow psychologists about the urgency to propagate Islamic psychology with no success. So, yeah. So, what do you think, Dr. Bogus?
well, imagine you have this car, you have this car, but this car has problem in it. So you don't just throw away the car, you break the car parts, and you find the wrong parts and replace it with the new part, or the correct parts, so you can use the car again. So you don't just throw away the whole car, but you break it down and find the problem and throw away those parts that has problem and replace it with a new one. That's how we reconstruct this the science of psychology. So we throw away those things that is not scientific, that is not reasonable, this that is has some political interest in it. We throw that away, and then we will find the parts that we can rebuild our knowledge in psychology with the new design. Okay, so we don't make ourselves empty. What we will make ourselves more knowledgeable about the essence, about the parts, about the components of this knowledge. So we can choose which one we will use, which one we will throw away. So that's the more proper metaphor.
Right. And how about the follow-up statement? So it seems like Dr. Irianti Usman will need. She says that it's taken her 2 years to convince fellow psychologists about the urgency, and she hasn't been responded with any success.
Well,
Which is interesting because sometimes I think that maybe it results with no success because those people are how to say, like they're just too ignorant of wanting to learn such things, and it's no longer our responsibility actually to try to convince them anymore. So maybe success is not the matter here, or what do you think, Dr. Bagus?
well, 2 years is a very short time. Remember, Prof. Malik Badri needs how many years? 79 to today? 50
Oh,
more. Yeah.
that's almost a lifetime.
50 years, and we are still in the lizard hole. Can you imagine that? it's 50 years, and we are still there. We are not moving out from this rabbit hole yet. And if we refer to the prophets, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam needs 23 years. The Prophet Noah needs 900 years, so time doesn't matter. We need to keep doing it. We need to, to be sabr and istiqomah. Do not give up. Do not give up. Okay. So 2 years is a very short time. It's just it's just a flip of night. Yeah. So don't worry. It's the journey is just starting.
Right. Okay. Thank
Be
you.
patient. Be patient.
Yeah, 2 years is nothing. Yeah. Still too short to be able to decide whether it's success or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is from Otih Jembarwati. In our daily life, the application of theory and therapy sometimes applies Islam as a normative foundation. How can we explain that it's not just a dogmatic choice, and then the spiritual development from the human is not the same phase? How can we bring it into humans' potential? And what do you think about like digging into the meaning of life, which is oftentimes not the same? And how do we put into account culture into therapy and applying Islamic theory in our daily life? So this is a lot of application questions which we haven't covered yet. So
well, actually, the basic is the first principle that we have to understand first the map. Like if we want to go to some place, we have to have the map first. We have to have the big picture, and then we can apply it in our journey. The same thing as the Islamic psychology. You cannot just jump into therapy, jump to application before you really understand the whole picture, the map. So that's why knowledge, conceptual framework theory, building theory has to be done first before you apply it. If you just apply whatever you have and then put some Islamic verses in it, it's not going to work. Okay, so you have to reconstruct a theory. You have to construct a theory based on the Islamic worldview. You can use some evidence that is already collected by the science of psychology, but you have to choose the right one, the clean one, not the one that is mistaken, and then you apply it. That's what we are going to explain in our advanced course. And inshallah, I already have this agreement, a contract to write this book that is called the Tazkiyah therapy. Tazkiyah is the keyword of human development, human purification and development. So you need to learn the theory first. You don't just apply it. If you don't know about automobile, you cannot just fix the engine. You have to know about the engine first. Okay, you have to know the principle of this engine. You cannot just fix it because you want to fix it. You have to understand the concept. You have to consult with the expert of engineering before you will fix that. Okay, so be patient. We have to be patient.
Right, and especially because this introductory course, especially this evening, it still covers the urgency, the question why we need to learn Islamic psychology. And in terms of
How?
how and the concrete application of the theory itself, there will be a more advanced course, yeah, for that, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to it. But it takes time to learn the whole thing itself. So I hope that you will still be looking forward to learning more deeper about it. Maybe moving on to a follow-up question from Ainul Mardia. So, does Islam underestimate the power of thinking? This was a follow-up question from the previous question. Isn't it the other way around? Yeah, actually, Islam does not underestimate the power of thinking. But what do you think, Dr. Bagus?
Well, to think is wajib in Islam. Wajib means you have to think. In Islam, if you don't think, then you will be lost. Okay, so ilm, knowledge, pursuing for knowledge, reasons, thinking is something that is a must for a Muslim. You cannot compromise that. Okay, so that's why, as we learn from Imam Al-Ghazali, he is he used reasons. He didn't use this what do you call it, belief or faith, to argue. Use reason. You think. You use the akal, how to explain it. Logic is very important. That's the message of Islam. So if you think that Islam is underestimating or undermine the thinking, I think that's a wrong conclusion.
Okay. Moving on to the next question from Ahmad Rizki. Can Islamic psychology be applied to all communities like Christians, Jews, or even agnostics? That's the first question. The second question is, we often refer to great Islamic philosopher to explain about the soul and its phenomenon, but I found several unfamiliar Muslim scholar explanation about human soul, like Ibnu Rajab al-Hambali. Can we maybe also refer to him or any other unfamiliar Muslim scholar?
Okay, well, you can refer to anybody if you want, but you have to check it with the Quran, because Quran is the core. Quran is the book that is no what do you call it? That is perfect. There is nothing like it. Okay, so if you want to refer to other ulama or the scientists or the scholar, it's okay as long as they are not in contrary with the Quranic verses. So that's why you have to start from the Quran first, and then you can learn from Imam Al-Ghazali or other to understand more how he understand the Quran. So we learn how those ulama think and understand and construct theory based on the Quran. But you have to know about the Quran first. That's your main platform, your main foundation of knowledge. Okay. The first question was about what?
The first question was, can Islamic psychology?
Yes, of course, because Islamic psychology is natural. It's natural. It's about human being, a natural human being. What differentiate the effect of Islamic psychology to those who are not Muslim is the level. You can maybe you can help them in certain level, but not the whole thing, because they don't. For example, for agnostic, they don't believe in God. But of course, they want to have a peaceful heart. They want to have reasonable life, So you can touch those parts, and inshallah, if you can help them with this emotion and cognition and behavior, they might interested to learn more about the soul. So the concept about the soul actually can be transformed into the knowledge of the concept about cognition, emotion, and behavior. And if you are dealing with a non-Muslim, maybe it's difficult to go uh, deeper to the soul, but you can, use the behavioral approach, the emotional approach, cognition approach. Of course, you can use that. Okay.
Which we will discuss further in the advanced class, right?
Of course, of course.
Because for now it's just mentioning behavior and
I want to add something. I just learned that actually Skinner theory is not so bad. It's not too bad. He has the theory about this behavior. He doesn't believe in the soul, of course, but his theory about behavior actually is we can accept that human behavior is not it's not his own responsibility. Actually, there's an influence of the environment, and that's I think that's a good thing. And Skinner said that we are not supposed to punish people because punishment doesn't solve problem. We can do is to make a conducive environment, a healthy environment, so the bad behavior doesn't emerge in that person. So this is a very interesting thing. So that's one example. How can we use the idea of the contemporary psychology, but we should use it in the Islamic worldview. Do not reject freedom, do not reject soul. Just they explain part of the human being. They just explaining the behavioral part. It doesn't mean that the most important is the behavior, but explaining about the behavior is also important, but that is not all. Okay, so that's an example about.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Bagus. There's a comment here again from Fatia Shamsuddin that we are still in the lizard's hole because the approach to psychology as a discipline in most universities, at least in Malaysia, is still very much secular, even in so-called Islamic universities. And that's why we need to re-educate people on Islamic psychology. And perhaps Indonesia can lead through the International Muslim Psychologists Association.
Inshallah, I mean, that's a prayer.
Yes, amen. I mean, also another question from Nuruddin Akbar. Professor, can you tell us about your experience of applying Islamic psychology in secular campuses? For example, how to deal with teaching the wrong political materials? How about inserting the ideas of Islamic scholars in lectures while the class tends to be heterogeneous? What about the dialogue strategy with colleagues who may still be influenced by secular reasoning? I think you have a lot of stories about that.
Yeah, well, this is what I've been doing. So if we have discussion about certain issue, I will focus on the scientific part of this issue. So I avoid the discussion about the philosophy. So I just focus on the scientific part because, like I said before, it's not all wrong about this psychology, but they what do you call it, contaminate the science with a lot of things that is not correct. For example, about social psychology. If we talk about social psychology, we don't just talk about this theory and this theory, but we can say that a human being need other people. Human being has to have empathy to other people because this connection will make them happiness is based on this connection. So that's Islamic. You don't have to say social psychology is wrong or no. You just say the right thing. Say the right thing, not to condemn or to criticize strongly. No, just say the right thing. Focus on the right thing that is there in this psychological science, the mainstream of psychology. by doing that, people will learn that, oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so they don't feel that offended with that. So that's the, well, in general, that's what I've been doing. But if I talk with like students under my supervision, I don't have any restriction at all to say that, you know what, our purpose of life is not in this world. We will meet God. We have to prepare ourselves. It's okay, because this my students. We have to. I mean, they have to listen to me because I'm their supervisor. And then if they construct this paper or scientific study, we have to really be careful to put the clean scientific argument in that, not to put some belief system or things that might might be is not, that other people might does not believe in it. Okay, so this is how we can apply this in our environment.
Okay, so the keyword is to stay scientific, yeah.
Yes,
and I
yes.
one of the main points that you addressed in the middle of the session was that when we are confronted with an argument, the first question we probably need to ask is whether is this scientific or is this politicized, right?
Yeah.
So the main thing, we argue scientifically, though.
Yeah, and another example, for example, if we examine a thesis or dissertation, I always ask, what is the purpose of your study? What is the purpose of your study? And then they will think about it. And then they will, move away from this mechanistic science. They will think deeper. What is the benefit of this study for the humankind, for the human being? That's also Islamic, purposed full method.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Bagus. There's another question from Wajiha Khan. How can we integrate Islamic psychology into industrial and organizational psychology? Being a student of MSIO psychology. I'm sorry, I don't understand the abbreviation. IO's industrial organization psychology. I'm really interested to know this. Jazakallah khair.
All right. Now, actually, there's a lot of teaching in Islam about business, about money, about trading. Yeah. So we can apply those values. For example, if we have this agreement, trade agreement or business agreement, we have to really make it clear. We have to make it sincere. We have to. It's an application issue. It's an application issue. So we use these values, Islamic values. Do not cheat. Do not. So those kind of things. And also, if we talk about leadership, we can also, if we talk about motivation, then that will be deeper than just management and business. Motivation is something deep inside the individual. So we have to talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of your being here? Purpose of your work? What do you think that you should pursue in your job? Those kind of things. You can integrate this idea, the idea of the ethical code in Islamic into an industrial and organizational psychology. And actually, my master's is industrial and organizational psychology. So I'm not. I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with this issue.
Okay, and you also published a dissertation about motivation. So maybe we could, you can talk deeper about that in the next sessions.
Yeah, that will be part of the topics in our advanced program, because actually until now I already developed 5 theories, from the motivation, personality, and it's it needs some time to explain all of those. We cannot explain it in just a few minutes.
Right. Wajiha Khan said he really wants to take your opinion for the selection of his topic for his thesis.
What is it?
Yes, we can. Inshallah, we can share more about that maybe tomorrow, or in the
Yeah,
advanced
maybe.
courses. There's a comment from Dr. Irianti Usman. It makes perfect sense now that APA has been politicized. I read new journal stating that there is no such thing as a gay gene. And instead of accepting this research finding as an important knowledge, APA states that this is complicated and questions the wisdom of conducting this kind of research. So they refuse to discuss further about um, the topic of genetics, that humans are purely genetical beings or biochemical algorithms. So that's interesting. Yeah. I think we can still be accepting more questions. What do you think, Dr. Bagus?
Yes, we still have time.
Maybe another 15 or half an hour?
Okay, that's fine for me.
Okay. So for the participants, you may, if you still have any more questions, you may talk, you may open your mics, or you may also send a chat. If you would like to convey your opinions directly, it's also much appreciated. So you may open your mic if you have any comments or questions, please. Or if you're more comfortable stating your questions in Indonesian, I'd be happy to translate it as well.
There's something pop up.
Right. So when is the advanced course in Islamic psychology being offered?
Inshallah, early next year. We will prepare it first. In January or February, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah next year. We will keep you informed, inshallah, through the emails that we've collected.
And to the WhatsApp group, actually, it's more practical with the WhatsApp group.
Right. So the WhatsApp group will still be available. So we won't delete the WhatsApp group. Yeah. I mean, it will still be available for further informations if you are interested to take further courses. There is a request from Nuruddin Akbar. So he is asking that Dr. Bagus, maybe you can mention a little bit about the gay gene phenomenon, the fact that people are trying to argue that these genes are you are born with these genes. So there's this argument like that, and maybe the femininization of psychology as a form of political psychology, that is something that is a really very real issue nowadays. Can you mention a few things about that?
All right. Actually, like what has been mentioned by Dr. Irianti Usman, the study actually revealed that there is no such thing as a gay gene. So that's a study that we can use that as our reference also, because I myself do not do study on genes, but I can comment based on reasons, because this political movement of the gay rights movement actually used uh, genetic argument. In the same time, they used the human rights argument. So if you think about it, if you use the human rights arguments, meaning that you argue that this is our freedom, our freedom of expression, meaning that this is our choice to be like this. But if you use the genetic argument, it means that this is not our choice. God made us like this. So they have two arguments in contrary with each other in the same time. So what do you say that is that reasonable? Is that scientific? Does that make sense? So which one is really the arguments, the gene or the freedom? If it is a freedom, then you have to be responsible for that. If it is a gene, then it means that this is a disease, like other, malfunction gene or something like that. But you don't want to be said that it's a disease. You don't want to be responsible. So that's clearly shows that this is not science. This is politics.
Right. So two different arguments of whether it is freedom or genetics. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So a little mentioning about the current issues. Yeah. And here is another question about. So it's trying. Maybe you can clarify about the advanced course of Islamic psychology. Is it more like a course where you can get a certificate, or is it a diploma? So maybe you can clarify a little bit about the advanced.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
actually, I don't really focus on that. I just want to share what I know and learn together with you, and I will share a lot of reference, reading materials, and video materials. So, because when I say it's a diploma program, so what is the criteria of a diploma program? Of course, we will give you certificate, but is it a diploma program? So what does it this different from certificate program? I don't really,
Maybe too technical to be.
yeah, I think
It's just
yeah.
knowledge
I
sharing.
just want to share what I know, what I've learned, what I've read, what I've learned from YouTube's and things with you, so that you can develop your own, knowledge about it. And maybe, well, actually, we will open a certified program in Charles III University next year. But we will have this opening ceremony in the 16th of October this year. So that is a formal and certified program by a certified university, but it's a graduate program. Okay, so you can, search for the information and you can apply to that program. It's that more formal education. Okay.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Mm.
And another question is from Haris Mu'tashim. Sorry, did I skip one question? No, I don't think so. Okay. So from Haris Mu'tashim, in the course of philosophy of science, universal values role the main structure of discipline of knowledge. As the discipline of knowledge, does Islamic psychology has its framework and method to make any side of Islamic psychology become universal? So maybe the question is Islamic psychology universal? Is it?
Well, the short answer is yes, but you have to know the history. I already show you that the idea about psychology started from Imam al-Ghazali, even though somebody claimed from Aristoteles and the Greek philosopher, but the Greek philosopher has been criticized by Imam al-Ghazali, and then the idea of Imam al-Ghazali influenced the current civilization. That's one root of this knowledge. The other root is from Ibn al-Haytham, the establishment of the scientific method actually is studied from the discovery or the invention of the experimental study, which is initiated by Ibn al-Haytham with the study about the light and the camera and all of those things, the optic. So actually, the beginning of science, the beginning of the universal science is from the Islamic tradition, Islamic civilization, and the current modern Western science actually is a reduction, is a reduced form of the true science. The same thing as the psychology. The current psychology is a reduction of the true psychology. So Islamic psychology is not a new psychology. Well, of course, there is some new part in it, new ideas, but it is bringing back psychology to its origin, to its true scientific nature, its true universal science for all human beings. So you have to learn about history. It's very important, because if you don't know the history, then you will trap into this idea of the current issue, the current recency effect of the understanding of the issue.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the next question from Darmawan Trinugroho. Is there any theory development or opportunities of ideas to formulate Islamic psychology in organization design and strategy area?
Yes, actually, I'm starting to work on what I call a Tazkiyah management. So it's an Islamic perspective of management and organization. It's still in the process, so I still working on it. Yeah, inshallah, it will be there in time.
Okay. So Tazkiyah management, yeah, Dr. Bagus.
Yes.
Okay, well, we will be looking forward to learn more about it then. A question from Yani Arikawati. Dr. Bagus, how does Islamic psychology view children who need berkebutuhan khusus, special need, children with special needs, and can Islamic psychology be integrated into the therapy for children who are in special needs? Are there any verse in the Quran that can be referred to about that kind of therapy?
Yes, we have to construct the understanding about the issue first, and then we can develop the techniques to do the therapy, treatment, and things like that. So it's always it needs our effort to do that. I cannot give you the concrete answer about that, because it is a specific case. So we have to really understand the situation, what kind of disabilities, what kind of special needs. But we can develop a theory about that from the Quranic verse. how to understand the soul, because if you just focus on the behavior, you might miss something, because even though those children have special needs, if they are living, they have the soul. So if you can communicate to the soul, inshallah, you will be able to help them. Okay, so that's why we need to understand the whole thing, from the soul, the cognition, the emotion, and the behavior.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Amir. Mr. Bagus, can you tell us the condition of Indonesian researcher in psychology, particularly yourself? So have you ever faced any political pressure in spreading Islamic psychology, as you showed what happens in the West in the videos? Have you faced?
Not that bad, actually, not that bad. Of course, I've experienced those kind of pressure, but I'm still working. They don't expel me. They just move me a little bit away from them. They don't give me position, and that's okay. I do my study. I'm focusing on the scholarship activity, not administration or things like that. So it's okay for me. It's not as bad as the United States, actually. Well, they say they are a free country, but they are worse in treating freedom.
Right. Okay. A question from Fadila Najmi Kintara. Do you have any suggestions on how to start learning Islamic psychology as a bachelor graduate, especially in Indonesia?
As a bachelor, you mean? As a graduate or a bachelor?
As a yeah, I'm not sure, but as a bachelor, I think.
Yeah, well, if since there is no program, Islamic psychology program yet, that's established in Indonesia, so you have to have a initiative. You have to have this individual study, independent study on it. So you should follow all these, because we actually a lot of classes in Islamic psychology, but it's not in the formal program in universities. So just follow those classes, those discussion, those seminars, and also courses. And in IO psychology, we know this term, this what it called as crafting, job crafting. So we can design our own study program based on those opportunity that is there. So just find these opportunities and design our study plan, design program. It's like job crafting, study crafting, maybe, because it's not yet there. I'm trying to develop this, and I've been trying to collaborate with some university, but it's not it has not succeeded yet.
Okay. A question from Nur Farzana. Could you maybe mention again the name of the university or institutions abroad that provides further studies to continue education in the field of Islamic psychology? Is there a specific background needed or criteria required to enroll in the Islamic psychology courses?
Well, it's just start to open. It's opening next year in Charles Sturt University in Sydney, Australia. So you can search in the website, about these details, because I myself has no knowledge yet about the details. So there's Charles Church University in Australia and Rifah Institute in Lahore, Pakistan, and in Cambridge Muslim College in Cambridge Muslim College. Those three institutions that I know opening this course or diploma program in Islamic psychology. You can find it on the internet, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Last question from Muhammad Fikri. So, does the Islamic psychology, the understanding of Islamic psychology, come from a certain perspective, such as tariqat, which becomes a more universal understanding, in this case, Islamic psychology itself?
It's from the Quranic study.
Okay.
So it's not from some what do you call it?
He mentioned tariqat.
Aliran, tariqat, or something like that. But it's from the understanding of Quranic study. So we have to go back to Quranic study. We call it the Maqasid approach, Maqasid philosophy, Maqasid method, to understand the purpose of the Quranic message.
Okay.
All right. I just want to remind you that there will be a feedback form that the participants should fill in. Yeah. Maybe you can share it in the WhatsApp group, or maybe in this.
Right. I think it can be shared in the WhatsApp group.
Yes. Okay.
From the admins. And I think we can still accept a few more questions. If not, then I would like to invite all of the participants to turn on their cameras to take a photo, a screenshot. I think more appropriately. So if there are no more questions, can all the participants here please turn on your camera so we can take a picture together? Okay, I will set the view into gallery, and the admin will take a screenshot of all of the participants here. I think, wait, I should call, who will screenshot us? Is it Alifa or Ayu or Rahma or Atika? I'm not giving the, should I count to 3?
Yes, you better count to 3.
Okay, so are we ready? Okay, everyone please turn on your cameras. Right, are you ready? Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone ready? So we're going to screenshot the first page, yeah? 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, thank you. Now the second page. Yes, please turn on your cameras.
Okay, is it done?
Okay, wait, Okay, wait. Maybe Alifa or Ayu can take over? Or Rahma?
Okay.
Yes, it's done.
Okay, thank you. So